Obviously, the permit being revoked seems like a temporary victory. President Trump has spoken about appealing that decision. Uh, how do you view this decision? Are you feeling cautiously optimistic or encouraging water protectors to stay vigilant because this isn't over yet?
Yeah, I think that's important. That everybody needs to stay on their toes and just be ready for whatever's going to happen. Because, matter of fact, I'm getting reports that even though they said stop, there's still a lot of movement here in South Dakota.
As far as construction equipment still coming
Yeah,
in?
yep. They're still moving and working like they have the permit and everything's all good.
Yeah, we heard that during Standing Rock, despite them not having final permits, things like that, that construction was still going on and things like that. Do you worry that the oil company is essentially just going to say to hell with it? We're going to continue operating and we'll pay the fine.
Yeah, oh yeah, I think that's one of the things they're going to do is just keep going. And what's really sad, because this is a court order. I mean, if you and I, went against it, we'd be sitting in jail.
Right, right. And I wanted to ask you. Obviously, your reservation is downstream from where the pipeline would go through. Kind of talk about for Cheyenne River Sioux, what's at jeopardy? Is it just your water, wildlife, monuments? Can you kind of talk about what would be affected if the pipeline went through your reservation?
Well, I think first and foremost, the most damaging would be, our fresh water, because a lot of the tributaries all flow into the Missouri River, and that's where we get our drinking water. The other thing is the fact that where they're proposing to cross was in one of our chief's last camp, Chief Bigfoot, his last camp before he went to Wounded Knee, and that pipeline is proposing to go right through the camp. So that's something that we're not going to take.
Right. And it seems to me, I mean, there's already talks of another tar sands pipeline coming down the pipe. You also have what's going on with Bears Ears Monument, where the Trump administration's essentially trying to shrink almost, I think it's 85% of that. It seems like a real just brazen merger of these fossil fuel companies and the government, more so than ever before.
Yep. Yeah, that's one of the things. I mean, I think a lot of our, trying to make everything less dependent on foreign energy, but I don't know. They're just destroying everything.
Yeah. And as far as your tribe, obviously the Standing Rock Sioux tribe, very poor on that reservation. A lot of the elders and a lot of that tribe was hit hard economically as a result of the pipeline protests and this. Can you kind of talk about, let's say that appeal were to be victorious and the pipeline construction were able to begin, how would it impact your tribe as far as not just the water, but economically? I'm assuming, like other tribes, poverty is a big problem.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, one of the things that we're one of the tribes in South Dakota. We don't have a casino, and agriculture is our number one. Our only economy other than government services. So any damage done to the water or to our land, we will have a major negative impact. Because right now, that's all we have on Cheyenne River is just agriculture.
And you hear President Trump spoke about that this was going to create, I think he said 48,000 jobs. He said it was a political decision and a disgrace, which he likes to say often. I don't know where he's getting this 48,000 jobs because President Obama's State Department, they said it would only create 35 permanent jobs. What are your thoughts on the notion that this is a big job creator in South Dakota?
Well, I mean, that's just like, to get oil from our reservations here in South Dakota.
Right, right. And
I mean, that's what I'm kind of speculating that because I don't trust them guys.
right. And can you kind of talk about, a lot of people don't realize during the negotiations, well, it's not really negotiations because these companies are basically doing whatever they want without consulting the tribes. But there's a lot of underhanded activity and behavior by the oil companies, including refusing to provide you information, refusing to provide their spill models. Has TransCanada been transparent at all through this process on what they're putting in to ensure there isn't a spill, which obviously they can't? What has been the communication between the tribe and TransCanada?
Well, it really hasn't been not much at all. I mean, there's been some letter writing back and forth, but other than that, I have not met or even seen any TransCanada. The other thing that's really alarming to me is the federal government, as far as the State Department. I mean, you know, about a month ago, they wrote me a personal letter inviting me down to Lincoln, Nebraska to talk about it. So I go down there, and all they have is posters set up. They said, if you have any comments, just write them down and leave them at the poster station. I thought that was a big slap in our face. I mean, I took time out of my time to go down there, and I was prepared to talk, but yet none of that happened.
Mm-hmm. And do you feel, you know, you have these pipeline companies, they continually keep talking about energy independence, and we need these pipelines, yet all of these pipelines, the same pattern, they're being sent to terminals in the Gulf or elsewhere and being exported internationally. So it's quite evident what they're doing, and it seems like they're basically using Native American reservations as essentially the dumping ground for this. What do you say to the surrounding area? Because obviously South Dakota, North Dakota, Nebraska, a lot of conservatives who think this is actually good for energy independence.
Well, you know, it was really sad because when Dakota Access was going on, I had a rally at the Capitol. I called it Waking Up South Dakota because I just can't believe how these people that believe in state government, that vote in the state government, how they could just sit back and allow something like this to happen. You know, at the very least, they should be questioning their leadership and asking them, well, what's the negative impact? I mean, it kind of appears to me they're just like sheep. They just follow that lead bell and they just go right along regardless. And it's just unbelievable. I mean, we just recently had an election here in South Dakota for governor, and the Republican individual won it, and all she really campaigned on was, well, my opponent here, he's nothing but a Bernie Sanders and a Hillary Clinton. I mean, she had no plans for anything, and yet she won. It's just crazy how people here in South Dakota, and I'm sure Nebraska and North Dakota the same way, how they just think like that. I mean, and this is we're agriculture state, all three of them. That's our number one thing, agriculture, tourism, etc. But and I always looked at it like this, you know, Grandmother Earth is taking care of us, so we need to take care of her. That's the way I looked at things. But yeah, these guys, it's just unreal.
And another thing that's unreal, and this doesn't get discussed that much, but in all these pipelines, they're supposed to do a full environmental impact study. That's the law. But many of these are basically doing smaller environmental assessments that are literally done. The oil company hires a contractor to do a, quote, environmental assessment. So essentially the oil company is the one assessing. And shocker, they come back, there's no environmental risk. So it's kind of like, you know, the inmates running the asylum there, the integrity of the process, the law is not being followed. It was a full environmental impact study, I believe, was never done for Keystone either.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's just like putting that fox in that hen house, you know? I mean, and what I find crazy is if we were to build anything on our reservation, on our land, and if we're going to access any money, we have to do environmental impact. impact, negative impact to a lot of people, they can just walk right in and do what they want. I mean, it's just unreal.
Right. And could you kind of talk about bigger picture? So the Democrats just retook the House, but from everything I could see, Nancy Pelosi, who might become Speaker again, she's talking about a committee on climate change. There's no call among the party to ban fracking. There's no call as far as uranium mining, which is obviously disproportionately affecting Native American tribes that are near a lot of these mines. There seems to be kind of a little timid response among the Democratic Party with urgent climate change happening, and we know this frack gas is contributing to climate change very much.
That's what I found out a couple years back when I went to Washington, and it doesn't matter what party they belong to. I mean, some of them are getting money from oil companies, energy companies, so they don't really take a strong stance against it. They're just trying to pacify a lot of people. So it doesn't matter if they're Democrat, Republicans. Because when my trip, I found some Republicans were against oil pipelines and some Democrats were for it. So what I found is it ain't straight a party thing. It's both people on both sides are for it or against it, which is I thought was something I never thought. I just naturally assumed one party would be for pipelines and the other party wouldn't be, but it doesn't work that way.
Right. And I wanted to ask you, because obviously right now the permit's been revoked, but there was reports that the Nebraska law enforcement was really gearing up for, in case there were another standing rock, so to speak, near the pipeline with some really, not that Standing Rock didn't have excessive militarized weaponry, but even worse than that. And we know that the sheriff in Morton County, Kyle Kirkmeyer, he went around giving lectures and speeches and quote unquote training other police departments how to deal with these eco-terrorists, as they call them. Obviously, it's not an issue right now, but are you concerned with this? Essentially, the police are becoming militarized, that eventually, if there's another mass demonstration like that real bullets are going to start flying.
I would, and if they were going to fly, it would come from their side. One of the things that I found that one of the biggest agitators were the mercenaries. I seen records and information where they were the ones that started a lot of the problems up there in Cannonball.
Right.
Yeah. So, but I am concerned. That's where I found out a lot about the federal government and stuff when that happened, because even before actually them camps are going, I approached the U.S. Attorney's Office and asked if our people would be protected, and they kept saying yes, all it's on federal ground and peaceful, they'll be protected. Well, that wasn't the case,
Right. And it also came out later that the FBI, Homeland Security, were working with TigerSwan, the private security mercenaries, to surveil the camp, to infiltrate moles. So, the definition of fascism is the merger of the corporate state with the government. I don't know what you would call that, but that was very concerning, all those revelations that came out about TigerSwan and a lot of basically the government working against a large majority of peaceful demonstrators at Standing Rock.
Oh, yeah. Yep. One point I want to make, it's just kind of crazy about Trump. He's talking about, I can't even remember the word he uses, but he wants to build a wall. He don't want no people to come into America. But yet, these companies, energy companies that he's supporting are all foreigners,
Right.
And Canada's foreigner. Right now, we're also dealing in the Black Hills with a company that is from Canada trying to
Right.
You know, it's just crazy.
Right.
Why he's such in the support of. And then there's even a company from China trying to mine uranium in the Black Hills. I mean, what the heck's going on? What about national security? Are they going to sell that uranium to North Korea or Iran or someone that they could nuke us? You know, I mean, this guy is unbelievable.
So they're basically allowing, you know, theft of your natural resources to go to foreigners. Meanwhile, he's demonizing foreigners and refugees that want to come into America.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, right there should tell him. But I can't believe these Republicans that are supporting. I don't know why they just can't see the truth. Because the bottom line, that's just the plain, simple truth.
Right. And one more question I wanted to ask you. Obviously, it didn't get a lot of attention during Standing Rock and the fight against Keystone, but you know, with the Me Too movement, Native American, there's been Native American kidnappings. That's an epidemic, assault, and you know, a lot of missing Native American women's that they don't get the same media coverage. You know, a pretty white girl from the South does if she's missing. Can you kind of talk about? It's been an epidemic for many years, but kidnapped Native American women.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've had members that have been missing for 20, 30 years, and it just seems like nobody's looking for them. You know, and then we have a tribal member, a young man that's been missing for several years now, and I've been in contact with the FBI, and they just don't appear to be really cared. They don't really look, or, you know, and so forth, but that is a big concern, you know, especially with this pipeline coming. We have a school that will technically maybe be 10 miles away. Mm-hmm. And I know our members living around there, they're really concerned.
Right. And my last question to you is, what's your message just to everybody watching? You know, you have the Bayou Bridge pipeline fight down there. You have the fight against Mountain Valley Pipeline, the Atlantic Coast Pipeline in Virginia and West Virginia, Rover Pipeline in Ohio. I mean, I could go down the list. Obviously, there's water protector camps here or there, but what should people do that, you know, can't go to a camp and want to do something to help not just Native Americans, but a lot of these pipelines are going further downstream than reservations, you know, risking millions of people's water.
You know, we just got to keep standing together and working together in unity to, you know, do what we got to do. I think the main thing is just try to get our message out there on the media. And because the other side, they're definitely doing that, calling our people terrorists and whatnot. And we got to show what really is actually happening to our water and to our lands and things like that. I mean, we live there. We live here. And you know, and these companies just going to come, and I've always said that they're just going to be a few of them really going to be benefiting, and that's not right on the backs of all of our people. Right.
Absolutely. I appreciate you taking the time. Congratulations. I hear you were reelected during the midterms. So, and I hope we speak again, hopefully when this pipeline is permanently killed.
Yep. Thank you.
Sure. Take care.